gamers, gals, non-binary pals? It's your boy Stevie. I'm so sick, but you know, like getting better. There's not as much blood in my vomit. But we have the quarter century Stampede opening leaks. Not leaks. They just gave it to content creators and they opened it. Like, shout out to Tom Box and Nishi. Coin flipping boxes, I guess. That's cool. But before we get into today's video, this video is brought to you by Summoner's Nexus. Summoner's Nexus is a digital indie TCG that's been in development for the past 4 years out of love for games like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Marvel Snap. The game is designed for a dynamic back and forth with both players taking turns simultaneously and neither player ever feeling completely shut out of the game or feel like they're watching their opponent perform a cutscene while they're comboing off. The game is currently available in early alpha, which is completely free to download and play on both Android and iOS, with a PC port coming in the near future. With hundreds of cards currently in rotation and a passionate team putting everything on the line behind it, I highly recommend for you all to give Summoner's Nexus a look at the link on screen and in the description down below. Thank you again to Summoner's Nexus. So we do have the full quarter century set. Not all cards are available in every rarity. And for the most part, if you kind of like scoot your chair back really far and bust out the binoculars, you could like almost fool yourself into thinking this is like a good set. And again, the quarter century sets, for the most part, are designed to be competitive reprints and maybe include like some funny imports. You know, we've got some cool stuff. We've got like the Alt Art of Ray, you know, that's cute. We have Astral Karibo, that was like $8 at one point. We have like Fuwaloss, that's the big one. Honestly, it could have been a whole set of just Fuwaloss and we wouldn't really have changed it. Dragon Master Magia, remember when people tried to make this in Blue Eyes? Nah? You know, we have like Lullaby. We basically have a bunch of like fuck-ass cards with like random alt arts and stuff like that getting reprinted. Like Daruma Cannon, that's cool. This is like $6 at some point. And then we have the Nostalgia Pool, where it's just like, here's just 5,000 fuck-ass cards that are just like, yeah, sure. Let's reprint Larvae Worm. Let's reprint fucking Doppelganger. Why the fuck is Petite Moth getting reprinted? I don't know. Shout out to Ruxin, I guess. But we have a lot of like random stuff in the Nostalgia Pool. Yeah, Labyrinth. Real nostalgic deck, huh? 3 years ago was a long time. And for the most part, I mean, you look at the set and you're like, okay, cool. This is like a kind of nice set, I think. And then you actually kind of look at it. Well, first of all, every single alt art, like Ray and Valor or whatever, the alt arts are only available in QCR. So yes, that means you can only get your little feet ash in QCR. Unlucky. And then, second, when you actually like look at these prints, they're not actually that good. Well, there's a lot of filler hits. Think of like Mystic Piper, Esper Girl, like Gaga Magician. This card has an ulti. It is $1. This card did not need a reprint. And like Dark Magician and Blue Eyes alt arts, like sure. For the most part, a lot of these cards did not really need reprints. Cards that are like $4 or $5, you know, having a reprint is cute, it's fun, but it's not really necessary. And it does feel like sometimes, and it did feel that with some of these reprints, they tried to reprint stuff for an archetype that just didn't need reprints of these specific cards. Like, Atlantean does not need these cards rarity bumped. They need fucking more Dragoon rarity bumps. You know what I'm saying? Like, sure, we got like Ether and Erebus. That's cool. That is like the only card on this list that is worth over like $5 at the moment. No, I'm not counting the QCR Ray, because like QCR anything is gonna be like expensive, obviously. What is expensive on this list? Like Quem, Chamber, like another alt art. Like, sure, that's cool. I wish it was a good card. Engraver, Fuwaloss. Oh, by the way, very funny thing about Engraver. When you look at the spells, you may notice that there are no feats of tracks, which is very funny. So either Luri's getting banned or tracks getting banned. Or Engraver's getting limited, who knows? Yeah, you're also correct. No Bestials. We don't have Horus cards. We don't have like any gimmick puppet stuff. There's like 10 million like very meta relevant archetypes that came out that they're just like, nah, no thanks. No Mitsurugi cards? Pissed off about that. This is my King of the Feral Imps. Yeah, no Bestials, no Kashira, no Chaos Angel. What did make it into the main pool, these are desperately needed reprints. And she shows off like, you know, Shien's Dojo. Bat chest. As someone who does like reprint sets, like as capitalist as I am, and as much as I do love profiteering off of people, it does suck when a set like this is only purpose is to have 1 or 2 cards be like the main drivers for it, based off like nostalgia or like competitive integrity alone, aka like Fuwaloss and Feast of Engraver, and like arguably yugioh to an extent. Most of these cards just do not matter for like the overall competitive metagame or the reprint metagame. Like, nobody really wants to collect QCRs of like Esper Girl or fucking like Atlantean Marksman. Because people who want to collect like these cards have like the original ultis if they really wanted to invest. Like, sure, like QCR like Altar Ray is really cool, but again, it kind of feels like as someone whose favorite archetype is not Sky Striker, that they're just trying to milk that shit until it's like done. Like, don't get me wrong, there are some pretty good reprints. Again, like Engraver, Fuwaloss, yugioh, Chamber Dragon Maid, blah 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 blah. At the same time, it does feel like this was a very like, haha, I like money type shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, we also didn't get a Purulia reprint. I know we got Purulia in like the previous set, but let's not pretend that Konami doesn't like printing cards back to back. They've done it before. We didn't get any Meowth reprint. We got no Dominus card reprints. Like, no Purge or Impulse reprint. That kind of fucking sucks. The only relevant cards gameplay-wise are Engraver, Fuwaloss, Rollback, and Cannon. That's fucked. I mean, there's like Lightning Storm. That's in here. At least for like actually expensive cards. There's 7th Ascension. 7th Ascension was so funny, and I don't think this card is very good, but you know, shout out to the cotton. Like, Metaltronus is funny. Like, this getting a reprint is actually like pretty relevant, but you know, like if they could have reprinted Metaltronus, why couldn't they reprint Meowth? Why couldn't they reprint more stuff? You know, just curious. No, I don't see anything. My eyes are closed because I'm really tired. Like, sure, again, we're getting like a bunch of cards reprinted, and then like that's super duper cool, but at the same time, how cool can it really be if the cards are kind of pooky? Even House of Champs made a video where it's like the Yu-Gi-Oh community hates Stampede. What? And I think this comment really puts it pretty well. Something I believe is worth addressing is a quote from Konami's own description of the product. The core set of more than 80 tournament level cards. Yes, they put out things like Mystic Piper, Esper Girl, and Gaga Magician in the core. Cards that are completely unplayable. Mystic Piper needed a reprint, sure, but not 7 of them. That's what the nostalgia pool is for. Esper Girl is 30 cents. Why is it here at all? Yeah, things like Wave King, High King Caesar, or Artifact Sanctum are in the nostalgia pool when they see competitive play. If they want to separate the pools based on any playability for the current format, they just stick to that. If they want to separate them based on current TCG player price, then say that. And that is super duper true. It's truing. Like, again, when you actually look at the competitive reprints, let's like go down these like one by one for like tournament level like staples. Get a little loose and loosey-goosey with it. Blue Eyes 1, Valor 2, the Atlantean stuff, we're at 6, Ogre 7. Jesus Christ, we're on to the next page already. Ash 8, Nibiru 9. I'm sorry, but we're not counting Ray. I don't care who you are. Unless your name is exactly Ryan Yu, you are not him. We have like Mourner. Remember people used to play this card a lot? Like Dodge Shifter. That was cool. Got 10. We have like Anguish, yeah, that's 11. We have Engraver 12, Fuwaloss 13, Desiree 14. Wow, not a lot, huh? Zeus technically, that's 15. Infinity 16. Infinity definitely needed a reprint after it's 4 in like fucking Battles of Legend, like Cock's Revenge. Hida 16. Amblo Whale maybe 17. Access Code 18. Splash Mage 19. Zealantis and Raging. I'm not counting this. Terraforming 19 or 20. I don't know. Just say 20. Let's round up. Why not? Call by the Grave, 21. Extract, 22. Not really, but you know. Lightning Storm, 23. 7th Ascension, 24. Bone Party, 25. Metaltronus, 26. Daruma Cannon, 27. Big Welcome, 28. Rollback, 29. That is 29 cards in the main set for tournament level cards. What else is tournament level? Baby Zerasaurus? Doppelgangster? Fucking Acid Golem? Madolche Puddingcess? Angeli? Seer? High Five the Sky? Is this the reprint we needed? These are not real reprints. The main issue that we were facing is that in current, all of these staples are expensive, and deck cores are very expensive and frustrating and extremely expensive to play. Whereas in retro formats, only very specific cards were needing reprints because they were only printed like 1 or 2 sets, and they were extremely expensive as a result. Like Phoenician Cluster, Amaryllis, and Metamorphosis are examples of very, very old cards that were only seen printed 1 or 2 sets that unfortunately just did not stand the test of time in regards to their value, and just like skyrocketed upwards because they see competitive play. But we do not need this many reprints. Like, you can still pick up Cyber Phoenixes for like a penny. You can still pick up like a Leviair and a Siege Dragon for like 2 pennies. You can pick up like a Grapha for 3 pennies. You can pick up like a Vanity's Fiend for like 5 pennies. Have you heard of Dual Power? You know, that like actually good set that you guys released? You know what I mean? It's very frustrating. Not a big fan of how this set was handled. I'm not gonna say it's the worst one. I'm not saying it's the worst one, but it's definitely not one of the best ones. If you want like my honest opinion rating, there's like the first quarter century up on top, the second one, and like the third one. I don't even know what the third one was. There was just a bunch of quarter century. There were so many quarter centuries, Stampede. This shit lasted for like 4 years. It was fucked up. Why do they do that? But anyways, I think that they handled this set a little poorly. I think that they could have done better, but they also could have done very worse. Like, again, there are like a billion cards printed for retro formats and like some modern stuff, as well as the fact that, you know, a lot of like very just nice reprints came out, even if they aren't for meta decks. Think of like Ether and Erebus. Those cards are like $8 for like no goddamn reason because of the Monarch support. You know, like Dragon Master Magia, you know, that's cute. Like Crimson Dragon, this card is like $15 for no reason. There's a lot of like low to the ground reprints that were nice. These are nice reprints to have, but they are great reprints. And that's why this set kind of feels like a continuation of like Quarter Century 2, where it had a lot of reprints that were cool and technically impacted retro formats and were technically stables, but at the same time, they were just, it felt weak. It felt weak to be like, wow, I guess my pull is a fucking DD Crow. You know, like, that's cool. Where at the same time, a lot of cards that people did want reprinted, like again, the Bestials and the Chaos Angels and the Cashiras, for example, just unfortunately got fucking axed. It sucks. Anyways, let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this in the comment section down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye forever.